Hello, boys and girls. It's Miss Miller again here today. Are you ready for our Read Aloud 1? So today I thought that we would go back and read a book that we read in our clothing unit. This was one of your favorite books. I'm going to give you a clue about what this book is, and I want to see if you can guess it. Are you ready for the clue? Here it is. What is this? This belongs on your head, and it begins with the sound K and the letter C. Have you guessed it? I'm going to put this on top of my head here so I can get ready to read. Here it is. Caps for sale. You guessed it. Ready? See how much of this book you remember. Once there was a peddler. A peddler. Remember, a peddler is someone who sells things. He sold caps, but he was not like any ordinary peddler. He wasn't like all the other peddlers. He didn't carry his things on his back. He carried them on top of his head. First he had on his own check cap. Then he had on a bunch of gray caps. Then he had a bunch of brown caps like the one I'm wearing. Then he had a bunch of blue caps. And on the very top, there were red caps. He walked up and down the streets, holding himself very straight as to not upset the caps. He was balancing them on top of his head. As he went along, he called. Do you remember what he called? Let me hear you. Yep. Caps. Caps for sale. 50 cents a cap. One morning, he couldn't sell any caps. He walked up the street. He walked down the street. And he said, say it again. That's right. Caps. Caps for sale. 50 cents a cap. He began to feel very hungry, but he had no money for lunch. You know what? He said, I think that I will go for a walk in the country. And he walked right out of town, slowly, so his caps would not be upset, so they would not fall down. He's walking out of town, down the road. He walked for a long time until he came to a great big tree. Oh, that's a nice place to rest, he thought, and he sat down very slowly under the tree. And he leaned back a little against the tree trunk as to not to disturb his caps on his head. Didn't want them to fall. Then he put his hands on top of his head to feel if they were straight. First he checked his own check cap, then the gray caps, then the brown caps like mine, and then the blue caps. And then on the very top, he checked the red caps. They were all there. So he went to sleep, and he went to sleep for a long time. Pages getting set. When he woke up, he felt so good. He was refreshed and he was rested. But before standing up, he felt his head with his hand to make sure his caps were in the right place. But all he felt was his own cap. Oh boy. He looked to the right of him. No caps. He looked to the left of him. No caps. He looked in back of him. No caps. He looked behind the tree. No caps. Then he looked up in the tree. And what do you think he saw? Do you remember what he saw? Oh, on every branch sat a monkey. Oh, on every monkey there was a gray or a brown or a blue or a red cap. Those silly monkeys. The peddler looked at the monkeys and the monkeys looked at the peddler and he didn't know what to do. Finally, he decided to speak to them. You monkeys, you, he said, shaking his finger, you give me back my caps. But the monkeys only looked at their fingers and they shook their fingers back at him. And what did they say? Let me hear you. That's right. This made the peddler guy angry. So he shook both of his hands at them and he said, you monkeys, you give me back my caps. But the monkeys only shook both their hands back at him and they said, that's right. Now he felt quite angry and he stamped his foot and he said, you monkeys, you better give me back my caps. But the monkeys only stamped their feet back at him and they said, tss, tss, tss. By this time, the peddler was very, very angry. He stamped both his feet and he shouted, you monkeys, you give me back my caps. The monkeys only stamped both feet back at him and they said, tss, tss, tss. At last, he became so angry that he pulled out his own cap and he threw it on the ground and he began to walk away. Boy, was he angry. But then each monkey pulled off their caps. And what did they do? Do you remember? All the gray caps and all the brown caps, and all the blue caps and all the red caps came flying down out of the tree. So the peddler picked up his caps and put them back on his head. First he put back on his own check cap, then the gray caps, then the brown caps, the blue caps, and then the red caps on the very top. And slowly, slowly, he walked back to the town, calling again. What did he say when he was selling the caps? Let me hear you. That's right. Caps! Caps for sale! 50 cents a cap! Love that story. So my question for you all is, why do you think the monkeys decided to give him back his caps? So you can ask your parents to send me the answer either on Class Dojo or you can send me the answer by email. Why do you think the monkeys decided to give him back his caps? See you later on Read Aloud 2. Bye-bye.